Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. I'm having a little bit of a time with the glare today, so I'm gonna try to do all this stuff and get through it without blinding anybody. So first things first, I came over Fancy Gap early this morning. I actually wanted to stop and get maybe a cool picture of the sunrise because you can see a long way up there, but very foggy this morning. But I also stopped at exit 1 right there in Virginia on 77 where the Loves is, and so I saw this coming out. Actually, I saw it going in too, but you could see what happened coming out. So I don't know what happened exactly. I mean, I know I could see what happened. The guy's door was not secure, and when he started going up this little grade, his load slid out the back of the trailer. Fortunately, he wasn't going down the interstate. I don't know if it was weird because he was like coming from the truck stop. I don't think there's any I don't think trucks are supposed to go beyond the truck stop there. So I don't know what he was doing. Maybe somebody opened his door, kind of sabotaging him. I don't know, but he got to meet some Virginia State troopers this morning, and I'm sure his day didn't get much better after that. So anyway, you gotta check. And by the way, I had a washout the other day, and I can't even remember. I'm trying to think where it was. It was at a Blue Beacon, but they did not close. They couldn't get my trailer door closed, and I go back there to lock it once I pull out of the bay, and it wasn't latched. And so I called the dude out that's, I guess, the head cook and bottle washer there. I'm like, bro, this is not okay. I said, if they can't close it, they gotta say something to the driver. We can get it closed because we got dad strength or whatever. But I said, if some stick boy, 18-year-old can't get it closed, that's fine. I mean, I'm not saying they're easy to close sometimes. Sometimes they're like, you really got to put your butt into them to get them to close, but you got to say something. So anyway, that's that. So somebody asked me about, there's the glare. Dang it. Somebody said, hey, on another subject, like they had commented about something. They're like, what do you think about this Trump indictment? So normally, as a member of the bar, as an officer of the court, I don't comment on ongoing litigation. But in this case, I'll make an exception. So, if you don't know, what some of these words mean. So an indictment is basically where a grand jury that's impaneled, and it's not, the grand juries typically are impaneled for a number of weeks or months, and they meet on all sorts of different cases, and typically they get together maybe like twice a week, once a week. It depends, and there could be more than one I think there could be more than one grand jury impaneled at a time in a big jurisdiction like New York County. Right, it's not New York City. It's New York County, the Manhattan District Attorney, because New York has 5 counties. New York City has 5 counties. Each borough is its own county. So anyway, it's New York County, which is Manhattan. Really sorry about this. Maybe I'll just keep my hand right there. It's not even working now. I don't know. All right, you know what? I'm just going to hold this stupid thing until my arm gets tired. So anyway, somebody asked me about the Trump thing. So indictment just means he's been charged, that the grand jury found probable cause to bring charges, right, based on the law. But here's the thing about grand juries. It's not an adversarial process. Defense attorneys are not allowed in grand jury proceedings. So when they asked Trump to, if he wanted to testify in front of the grand jury, he would have done so under oath, but his attorney wouldn't have been in there. It would have just been like somebody from the DA's office asking the questions. So anyway, so now he's been indicted, and what he did the other day when he went to New York City is he went to an arraignment hearing, which is basically like the judge, reading the charges. And now the judge, I think, could dismiss the indictment at that arraignment, but again, it's just probable cause to believe that a crime has been committed. And so it's a reading of the charges, and they asked him to enter a plea. He said he wasn't guilty, and I think there were 34 charges. Now, here's the thing you got to remember about these charges. Each count could be like based on just one document, one email, one text. So I haven't read the indictment, but I think it's just this is basically the Stormy Daniels payoff, hush money, whatever you want to call it. And, it's so anything in furtherance of the crime that was alleged to be committed could be another count, right? Because any time you say something, then that could be a count. That could be where the 34 counts come from. But let me also say this. I don't know what the evidence is. I mean, I'm sure they have some. But the other thing that's interesting about this is that, remember that Michael Cohen, his lawyer, who handled this matter for him, dude, you're going to hit that trailer. You're hitting that trailer. Bro, pull out. You're hitting the trailer. Sorry. This dude is... So anyway, dude, that's not the way to turn the wheel. Turn the wheel the other way. There you go. Sorry. So the thing is, right, like Michael Cohen already was convicted of lying to Congress about this. So it's kind of weird that Trump is being charged under state law for something that somebody lied about, his attorney, under oath, and got convicted of. So it's going to be interesting. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning is that Trump, this is just one investigation that's going on. I think there's like 3 others. I think maybe the biggest danger to him is not this particular investigation, but it's the investigation in Georgia about election tampering, and also the federal investigation about I think it's about incitement to sedition. But here's one other thing I will say, and this is this is where people like Trump really get in a pickle. And I say like Trump because people that think that they could just, they have freedom of speech and stuff like that. So there are laws on the books, definitely at the federal level, but often at state levels, where tampering with a witness with a potential witness in a case is another felony in and of itself. But tampering could be anything, just like saying something about the person. So like, I didn't listen to Trump's speech, but I understand he's been saying stuff about Alvin Bragg and about, different people, the grand jurors or whatever. That could be construed, and like if he lashes out at Michael Cohen, who is probably going to maybe get called as a witness, that can be construed as tampering with a witness. So he's, and honestly, I've seen his lawyer on like just little clips on YouTube. This dude, man, I don't know. He does not have the A team. So anyway, that's that. You know, couple of quick things. OPEC, well, actually not OPEC. The Saudis, the UAE, and a couple other countries just announced a surprise 10% cut in oil production. Now, here's the deal. That is going to affect global oil supply, which of course affects the price of distillates like gas and diesel and stuff. However, the United States is the largest producer of oil. The question is, and this is always the problem I have with attacking, quote, windfall profits, right? When politicians attack the oil companies for windfall profits, they're attacking the same people that you would like to maybe drill for more oil or, drop more wells, which really hasn't been happening. I mean, that's part of the issue that we have right now with oil supply is that, in the United States, a lot of wells are shut down. And I talked to, my nephew works in the oil industry up in North Dakota, and I talked to him a while ago, and he's like, because he could see, like, because he worked for a well servicing company. And at the time, he was like, oh, well, Uncle Terry, here's there's not that much new stuff coming online. And a lot of times they'll like do the exploration or maybe drop a well, but then they don't start producing from it because I think there's an issue like with taxes or royalties or something. So if they're not producing yet, they don't have to, like pay anything. So, the question is, when does it get profitable? And I think up there in the Bakken Shale, it takes until like $80 a barrel before it is any profitability, and probably they're hoping that it's more, it's closer to $100 a barrel. So we'll see. The summer driving season is coming up, or maybe we're already into it. It's a really nice day here in North Carolina, where I am again. Not so nice in, like Wyoming and South Dakota, but, so we'll just have to see what fuel prices look like. So, I was at, by the way, I was at this Walmart in, I guess it's Mebane, North Carolina. Legit, I had a live unload, and my appointment was at 1700. At 1753, the guy called me and says, your paperwork's ready. Now, I did get there early. I got there, it was an OTIF load. I didn't get there over an hour early. I got there at 1605. But I did have to wait for a door because they gave me a door assignment, but then there was somebody in there and he took a while to get out. So I think maybe I got in that door at 4:35, 4:40 at the, 16:35, 16:40 at the earliest. So still, like, that was just sick, So I'm already back here at the, what is this? It's a Pilot. Right here on the corner, right around the corner from the Walmart DC. So while I was there, I had my windows down, and this guy in the next truck is a Prime guy. And he's like, he looks over at me, he's like, hey, are you that guy on YouTube? And I was started to say, well, there's lots of guys on YouTube, but as soon as I opened my mouth, he's like, yeah, you're the guy. So, shout out to him. I won't say his name, but his dog's name is Ace, and Ace is pretty cool. But the funny thing is, we were talking, and he's like, man, we are lucky to be at Prime. And, some days in the trucking business, it doesn't feel lucky no matter what company you're with. But I know some people have said that they've struggled at Prime, but and I didn't have a great first quarter. I'll be honest. I netted about a little over 23,000 for the quarter, which is like 7,300 a month for the first 3 months of the year. I can survive on that, but I'd really rather be up around like 11,000 a month net. But the last few weeks, because then I just was like, all right, I'm not even going to worry about getting a trainee. I'm just going to roll. Last few weeks have been good. I think this week is the lowest of will be the lowest of the last three. Excuse me. And I'm looking at somewhere, between around 5,100 gross to the truck. So, still might have another at least $2,000 net week, maybe a little more. So, we've been in a load or a cargo downturn for about a year, just about a year, according to FreightWaves. So, I did notice that the tender rejection rate, and which I might have explained before, but tender rejection rate just means what percent of all loads that are available for carry by for-hire carriers. So these are not private loads. So like Ashley Furniture or Frito-Lay, if it's their trucks, these are not the loads that count in this metric. But the tender rejection rate ticked up slightly recently, which means that there are slightly more loads being rejected by carriers. But now that doesn't necessarily mean there are more loads. It could just be that there's less capacity, which is fine too, because you make money two ways. Either there's tons of loads or there's very little capacity, right? Supply and demand, right? Economics to study of scarcity. So hopefully things are turning around for people. Hopefully fuel prices don't spike, because that could kind of hurt people that are still in the game. But again, my colleague was right. We're lucky to be at Prime. Prime has cargo, has loads, and we still do pretty okay on the fuel surcharges and stuff. In fact, it's going up for next week, I think. And that's always like trailing a week. But fuel spikes up, then we'll see those fuel surcharges back in the 40s and 50-cent range instead of mid-30s. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.